You add sugar to your coffee without thinking. 1 spoonful, maybe 2. It takes 3 seconds. The crystals disappear before you finish stirring, and your morning continues as if nothing important just happened. But something did happen. The moment sweetness touched your tongue, a survival system older than humanity switched on. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It noticed fast energy. It marked the experience as valuable. And somewhere beneath conscious thought, it quietly suggested that more would be a very good idea. Your tongue has no idea it is Tuesday. As far as your nervous system is concerned, you just found something rare, and you should probably get more before a monkey steals it. That does not mean you are weak. It means you are carrying a brain built for a world where sweetness was rare, seasonal, and often dangerous to obtain. The craving is ancient. The unlimited supply is not. And that mismatch may be the reason a substance that once helped keep our ancestors alive can now feel almost impossible to resist. This is the story of how humans solved the problem of finding sugar so completely that we created the opposite problem, a world where sugar finds us. To understand why, we have to go back before candy, before farming, before Homo sapiens, back to a world where the sweetest thing available came with a deadline. Imagine a primate moving through a warm forest millions of years ago. It is small enough to climb, hungry enough to take risks, and surrounded by food that does not advertise what it offers. Leaves are everywhere, but they are fibrous and difficult to digest. Nuts contain energy, but they protect it behind hard shells. Then the animal catches the smell of ripe fruit. Soft, bright, easy to chew, packed with energy that can be used almost immediately. The animal that could detect that sweetness had an advantage. The one that remembered where it found the fruit had a bigger one. And the one strongly motivated to find more had a better chance of surviving long enough to reproduce. That pressure did not disappear. It became part of us. Humans and other primates detect sweetness through receptors inherited across our evolutionary family. Your tongue is not simply enjoying a flavor. It is reading an ancient signal. Calories are here. In the forest, that signal was useful because it was honest. Sweetness usually arrived inside fruit, along with water, fiber, and nutrients. More importantly, the supply was limited. The fruit appeared in one place, during one season, and every bird, insect, monkey, and hungry animal nearby wanted it too. Your ancestors did not need an app to limit their sugar intake. The forest did it for them. Very strict subscription plan, terrible customer service. But fruit was only the beginning. At some point, humans discovered something far more concentrated: honey. Now, picture yourself standing below a wild hive. You can smell it before you can reach it. Inside is an absurd amount of energy by prehistoric standards, dense, portable, and ready to eat. There is just one problem. Thousands of armed insects own it. This was fast food if the restaurant could stab you in the face. To get the honey, you may have to climb a tree or a rock face. You may need smoke, rope, another person below you, and enough courage to keep climbing while bees attack your hands and face. A bad fall can break a leg. A broken leg can kill you weeks later. Enough stings can kill you today. And humans still did it. Rock art at Cuevas de la Araña in eastern Spain preserves one of the oldest famous images of honey gathering: a human figure climbing toward a hive while bees swarm around them. The precise age is debated, but the message is not. Sweetness was worth risking pain for. For most of human history, sugar was not something you casually consumed. It was something you found, chased, climbed toward, fought insects for, and then shared before it disappeared. It was not a snack, it was an event. And an event changes the behavior of an entire group. The person who remembered the hive had valuable knowledge. The person who could climb had a valuable skill. Someone below kept the smoke going. Someone watched for predators. Someone carried the honey home. Then everyone had to decide how to divide it. There was no plastic bottle waiting in a pantry. Once the hive had been opened, the reward was temporary. Eat it now. Share it now. Remember the location and hope the bees return. Imagine the taste after weeks of roots, meat, nuts, and bitter plants. Warm honey eaten with dirty fingers while your face still burns from the stings. The experience would not feel like dessert. It would feel like winning. That is the environment in which your appetite learned its rules. Sweetness is valuable, opportunities vanish, and when the reward appears, take it. That difference matters because the human appetite for sweetness evolved under a natural agreement. The reward could be intense because the opportunity would be brief. Then humans broke the agreement. Honey concentrated the reward, but it was dangerous and unpredictable. Cultivation would solve that problem and create the next one. Thousands of years ago in New Guinea, people began cultivating sugarcane from wild relatives. They were not making white crystals. They chewed the stalk, sucked out the juice, and spat away the fiber. A prehistoric juice box with terrible packaging. Cultivation solved the search problem. Sweetness could now grow near home, but it created a transport problem. Cane was heavy, wet, and quick to spoil. You could grow it, you could chew it, you could not easily carry its sweetness across a continent. Ancient refiners in India found the answer. Boil the juice, remove the water, and cool what remained into crystals. Now sugar could escape the field. A bag of crystals could cross a mountain, survive a voyage, sit in a storeroom, and be divided into amounts small enough to sell. Crystallization separated sweetness from season and geography. It turned a tropical plant into a portable reward. But portability created a new problem. Anything valuable that can travel can also be controlled. Refining knowledge spread across Asia and into the Mediterranean. Sugar remained expensive for centuries, closer to a spice or medicine than an everyday food. Most people could crave it all they wanted. The world still refused to provide much of it. But whenever humans make something valuable, portable, and difficult to produce, a darker story usually follows. Sugar needed land. It needed heat. It needed exhausting labor. And when European demand began rising, plantation owners in the Caribbean and the Americas built an enormous industry around people who were enslaved, transported, worked, punished, and killed to keep that sweetness flowing. Plantations solved Europe's supply problem by creating a human catastrophe somewhere consumers did not have to see. On one side of the ocean, sugar became a symbol of comfort and status. On the other, producing it was brutal. The suffering disappeared into the product. By the time sugar reached a cup of tea in Britain, it looked clean, white, and innocent. Nothing in those crystals showed the burned fields, the crushing mills, or the human beings forced to work around them. That invisibility helped sugar spread. It also made sugar perfect for business. The customer experienced the reward. Someone else absorbed the danger, exhaustion, and cost. Distance hid the connection between the two. Then, sugar attached itself to other habits. Tea was bitter, sugar softened it. Coffee was bitter, sugar softened that too. Bread, fruit, and alcohol could all carry more of it. Each new habit created another moment in the day when sweetness felt normal. That may be one of the most important changes in the entire story. Ancient sweetness arrived as a memorable event. Industrial sweetness became a routine. It moved from celebrations into breakfast, from rare medicine into a worker's tea, from luxury tables into ordinary kitchens. The human brain did not need to be redesigned. Only the supply chain did. English sugar imports surged during the 18th century. What had once been an elite luxury moved into ordinary kitchens. It sweetened tea, preserved fruit, filled pastries, and supplied cheap calories to people working long industrial days. And for the first time, a craving shaped over millions of years began receiving something it had never encountered before: a reliable supply. Not for one afternoon, not for one harvest, every day. The evidence for what happened next is still stuck to the teeth of the dead. Researchers recovered microbial DNA from hardened plaque spanning roughly 7,500 years of European history. Farming changed the human mouth, but then the oral ecosystem remained surprisingly stable for thousands of years. The bigger rupture arrived with the Industrial Revolution. As processed flour and sugar became cheap and widespread, cavity-associated bacteria became dominant in a way the researchers did not see through most of the earlier record. Humans had eaten carbohydrates for millennia. Industry changed the dose, the frequency, and the availability all at once. The decisive invention was not sweetness. It was endless sweetness. Industry solved sugar scarcity, and in doing so, it created the first human population that needed protection from abundance. That is the world you were born into. Today, sugar does not wait inside a piece of ripe fruit. It arrives in soft drinks, breakfast cereals, sauces, bread, coffee drinks, snacks, and products that do not even taste particularly sweet. You no longer have to climb toward it. You do not have to wait for a season. You may not even know you are eating it. The search has been removed from the reward. Even the physical structure has changed. In whole fruit, sweetness arrives inside water, fiber, and intact plant tissue that must be chewed and digested. Refined sugar arrives already separated, concentrated, and easy to add to almost anything. Your tongue recognizes sweetness in both, but the experience is not the same. One still resembles the package that shaped primate appetite. The other is the signal extracted from the package and delivered with almost no resistance. But your brain still receives the signal. Energy is here. Remember this. Want this again. The system is not malfunctioning. It is performing beautifully under the wrong conditions. Your appetite was designed in a world that placed distance, danger, competition, fiber, and time between you and concentrated sweetness. Modern industry removed those barriers one by one, but it could not remove the craving, because the craving is inside you. This is why the story of sugar is not really a story about poor self-control. Choices still matter, but your choices are being asked to fight an environment that can deliver more sweetness before breakfast than many of your ancestors would have encountered in days. You are not facing the same test they faced. They had to find sugar. You have to survive finding it everywhere. And that may be the strangest reversal in this entire story. For millions of years, the problem was scarcity. The fruit was out of season. The hive was too high. The cane was too far away. The crystals were too expensive. Then, within a tiny fraction of evolutionary time, the problem reversed. The rare reward became background noise. The luxury became an ingredient. The survival signal became a sales strategy. Now return to that spoon. It weighs almost nothing. It travels only a few inches from the sugar bowl to your cup. But hidden inside that movement is an ancient primate searching for ripe fruit, a honey hunter climbing into a cloud of bees, a farmer chewing cane in New Guinea, a worker tending boiling juice, an enslaved person cutting stalks under a Caribbean sun, and an industrial system that finally made sweetness impossible to escape. All of that history disappears in the coffee. The sweetness does not feel ancient. It just feels good. If stories like this make ordinary life feel less ordinary, subscribe. Every week, we explore what your body still remembers about the world your ancestors had to survive. And tomorrow morning, when your hand reaches for the sugar again, remember, the craving is ancient, only the ease is new.